Kevin Randall. Of course he wrote. He and Randall were a team for the longest time.
Well, tell us about what you know about Kevin D. Randall as a reporter. Did you like him or meet him?
I've met him before, yeah.
You did? Well, you just got around, did you? You must be one of those gumshoe kind of historians. You get around like a spy or a spook, man. Gumshoe.
Okay, so one of the things we do is interview people. Okay. Tom Tulene and he's the head of this organization. It's the Sign Oral History Project. He has over 200 interviews with witnesses, UFO investigators, people from Project Blue Book, just about anybody you can think of. We went ahead and did James Mosley, and he would only do an interview if we agreed to get drunk with him. So
I don't know. Okay, well, that's the good old boy network when you have to get drunk with them. That sounds like a truck driver or military guy.
Well, he didn't know who we were. He said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing a serious interview with you guys. We're going to get drunk. Okay, so that's what we did. We got drunk. But we got some information on him. We managed to pull some stuff out of him.
Uh-huh.
Now, some of these people want to talk, and some of these people, they don't want to talk until about the, they're some of them are skeptical. I mean, we did Frederick Durant, and we had done I had interviewed him on the telephone. The Project Blue Book head, God, why is it escaping my Colonel Friend? I interviewed Colonel Friend on the phone. He was very very cooperative and really nice, and he implied, well, when I was the head of the Project Blue Book, we couldn't say very much, so that's why Hynek and I communicated by tape, and we mostly talked about prehistory. What he meant by that was before 1947. And if you cut him, he bled Air Force blue. So he wasn't going to say anything bad about the Air Force. But in 2012, he said, I do believe in UFOs, and I have no problem in saying that now. So, but when I talked to him, he was, and he's a hell of a nice guy. And when I talked to him, it was really interesting. He was a Tuskegee Airman, and so being a black man in the Air Force in the 50s and 60s, you kind of had to watch yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So he knew how to be, navigate that kind of an environment. And I read one fellow's letter that he had gone and talked to Colonel Friend about a sighting he had. He's a fighter pilot. He had a sighting, and he was visiting out there to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and he said, I told Colonel Friend about my sighting, and he tried to convince him he was a balloon, that I'd seen a balloon, and I said, I know what a balloon looks like, and it's not anything like that. It couldn't maneuver like that. It couldn't outspeed me. And he put at the end of his letter, this guy is the stupidest man I've ever met. He's talking about Colonel Friend. And I can tell you just from talking to him, this Colonel Friend was a wily old fox. And he knew how to stay out of trouble, and he knew when he could say things and when he couldn't. And, you know, he knew how to maneuver. Like I said, he knew how to maneuver in that environment. And I'm glad that he did come out before he died and said that, yes, I was always, Heineck and I, we already knew what each other were thinking.
Well, what about Willie Smith in Florida? Is that the same Minot Air Force UFO case in Canada?
No, he doesn't have any connection with that.
Isn't that interesting?
He's from Uruguay. He's a physics professor.
Well, we need to get that clarified.
He had his own.
Wilbert Smith of Canada Radio and the Wilbert Smith papers, Dr. Vannevar Bush.
Wilbur Smith.
Wilbert Smith.
You're
papers.
Thinking of Wilbert Smith in Canada.
Right, and that's not Willie Smith in
Florida. That's not Willie Smith. That's got nothing to do with Willie Smith. Willie Smith is a real character in ufology, but he was he was in the Canadian government, and he was the head of Project Magnet for a while, and they used to, even after Project Magnet was gone, they used to send him UFO cases, and I was talking to Chris Rakowski, and I'm saying, hey, I've got proof that they were still sending cases to Wilbur Smith in 1957. He said, nah. I said, okay, I'm sending you one. He says, okay, that's interesting, because they had put at the bottom of the UFO case that copy was going to Wilbur Smith. So
how about that?
Yeah.
Now he was okay. Now he that helped start NICAP in '56, right? Major Donald Kehoe's book, The Flying Saucers Are Real. But I know that Wilbert Smith read those, and that guy in Canada, Grant Cameron, has been on that. But he's gone from, I think he's gone from nuts and bolts over to the conscious science cosmos side to Stargate. Because when I interviewed him on my radio show here, he wanted to talk to me more about Stargates, and I said, well, if the government will let me talk to you about them. You're getting into some deep stuff there, son. So a lot of stuff they are crossing over, even though we had the knowledge in 1983 at Fort Meade, right, with the Army and all of that, but not everybody knew that. So it's going to be interesting, Canadian UFO groups from 50 to 62 with Grant Cameron. But you've got, you don't have the Canadian cases. You've got, well, you have them from all over the world.
I have them from all over the world, but I spent time in Canada collecting UFO information. I met Chris Rakowski. I met Drew Williamson. I met the guys working on Shag Harbor. I met Chris Stiles. Well, I never met Chris Stiles. We have only communicated by telephone and letters. And Don Ledger. I know quite a few Canadians, but I went up to John Musgrave's place up there in Canada, in British Columbia, and he's out in the sticks and the boonies. And I went up there, and he's got a huge UFO file, mostly on Canadian stuff, and he let me copy anything I wanted to. When I haven't realized how much I copied when I was up there until I've started this scanning project.
Oh, so you've already got all that.
I didn't really, I was just scanning I was just copying as fast as I could. I'm looking at this stuff and I'm saying, I got file drawers of stuff that he let me copy.
Wow.
So I got more, I just, because I was doing 1947, Project 1947. So I was doing 47. He says, what do you want to copy? I said 47 to 50. He said, well, copy anything you want. So I stayed there for about 2 weeks, and I guess I copied a lot more than I had thought I had. So that was...
well, that's important because up there, they were saying in the magazines, and, of course, after Major Keyhoes, but why in the world would they have clearance level in non-existent flying saucers in any type of clearance, but yet they were finding them in Smith's letters to Vannevar Bush, right? So you probably have a lot of that stuff.
No, I don't think he ever wrote to Vannevar Bush. He wrote some documents that he put top secret on. They were not They were not official Canadian documents. They weren't official. He just put top secret on them.
Wow.
Well, Wilbur Smith is Wilbur Smith. Let's get this straight. Is from the very beginning he was, even though he was of great help to Keogh, and I love the Project Magnet stuff,
right?
Because the appendix there has cases from all over Canada and from ferry captains, from control tower people, from meteorologists, from even military. That appendix has a cross reference to people in the transportation department in Canada all over the place. I wish he had kept it up for 53, 54. He just did it for 52. Yeah.
Well, he was a radio
but
operator.
But he was quite. He could function at his job, but he had weird ideas.
Don't we all?
Well, yeah, but going all the way back to the early 50s, he's talking to aliens in his backyard. Well,
maybe in some reality he was, or maybe his conscious level. Remember, the government doesn't poo-poo that. So I need you to read that Gateway in 1983.
I read Smith's correspondence. What I'm telling you is the truth.
Okay, I believe you. So at that time, finding of facts.
I've got a big file on Smith here, and his Keogh. He was very helpful to Keogh. He gave Keogh hints, and he told him. He was a functioning person in the Canadian government, and one of the things he did was he got this. Highly luminous flare and tied it onto a big balloon and had it go over, I think it was Ottawa, to see how many reports of UFOs he got. And he said, it was super bright. It was brighter than anything in the sky at the time. I think, except maybe the moon, and he got no reports. So that's an interesting experiment. But in other things, he was not quite all there.
Okay, well, we're going to have to do a whole show on all of that. You know way too much information. Well, since we've been talking about Donald Kehoe, let's go, and Stanton Friedman, let's sort of put all that together with J. Allen Hynek, Edward Ruppelt, and Jacques Vallée. Now, you didn't meet Jacques Vallée, or however you want to say it. I don't know. How do you say Jacques Vallée?
I met Jacques Vallée several times.
Well, let's talk about that, because these are important names.
I'm